Welcome to the Junkyard Love Podcast.
At what age do we learn how to have better conversations? At what age do we learn to have better conversations with ourselves?
Friends, it's me and it's you, and we're listening to the Junkyard Love Podcast, where at the intro I like to add some form of new knowledge, new information, new perspective, a new talk, a passage from a book, something somewhere to change your view or maybe make you think differently about something. Most of the time my guest does not know or really have any affiliation, of course, with the intro part, so I just want to make that clear. I just kind of randomly put in my thoughts at that time for the intro before the guest. I just want to enrich the listener with new information, so when they're out there kind of looking for something to feed their brains, they don't have to default to, watching Parks and Rec for the millionth time, or watching whatever YouTube suggests next. Guilty myself. So this week's recommendation is titled How the Evolution of Porn Changed Adolescence. That's by Megan Maas, M-A-A-S. It's just a nice perspective flip. I think it's something that we should look at. We should have a look at this whole porn thing. I've flipped my perspective on it over the last couple of years myself. I think it's important to talk about. I think we should have room for the uncomfortable conversations, right? So, enjoy the episode. Take care of yourselves. Drink that water. Let's go.
Knowledge is power.
First things first, my man. Cheers.
I'm the
From
realist.
across the table.
Cheers.
It's good to see you, buddy.
Cheers. Good to see you too. I'm gonna struggle with this chair. I can hear it creaking.
Dude, it ain't as bad as the last one.
I'm always moving.
The other one, yeah, I know I'm always twitching and fidgeting too.
It's like ADHD.
The last one would just randomly just slide right on down. So
I hate those chairs.
yeah, dude, you just whoop.
I know.
It'd be funny. I'd be in like a heated conversation, or not heated, but just like a serious conversation, and we were up on this table to where we're both max height,
Yeah.
and then the guest would just like it's some sort of like power move on my end. I think I'm just like, I just want to make sure you know that your chair's lower than mine.
For sure.
It's mad weird.
I hate those chairs. 'Cause you're just chilling and all of a sudden you just drop. It's like makes you feel so heavy.
Was that me?
Yeah.
Dude, I've got chairs upstairs. The dining room table chairs are like, they're a danger. Every time that somebody new comes over, it's like Shaylee and I are just watching like hawks to make sure, like, do we need to warn them in a second?
Yeah.
Like, we always have to say, hey, watch out for that chair. Like, eventually we're just going to get new chairs. We probably should, but until the time being, somebody's going to bust it.
Well, sometimes you just gotta let it play out.
Yeah.
See what happens.
All right, bro. So, it's been a while. I kind of want to just like catch up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
What have you been up to the last few months? Like, what's quarantine been like to you?
Man, quarantine's been crazy. I work from home. Like, as you know, I'm a high school counselor, so we haven't been allowed in the school, and so everything we do is from home in my apartment. And I don't know, it's been an adjustment, man. Like, I don't have like a family, like I live by myself in a 1-bedroom apartment. So just by yourself,
It's a
like
little lonely.
all day, like working from home is dope. Don't get me wrong, but like during quarantine when you can't do anything, I mean, I still did stuff here and there, but for like those first month and a half, I was really just chilling. And after a while, it was starting to get to me. I'm not even gonna lie, man. It was like,
Get to all of us, man.
you can't. I think I went through like a 3-day span where I didn't even leave my front door, and I was like, on the third day, I was like, yo, I gotta get out of here, bro. Like,
I'm going crazy.
I'm going nuts.
Well, and then not being able to like, like, I don't know how many hours or how exactly you had to work, but not being able to like separate your work from your home.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially if you're just like, I'm pretty lucky that I have like a ton of space here.
Right.
I'm able to be like, all right, I can turn it off and just go upstairs and watch TV and shit. But Megan Elam, she was down in Portland, and they basically like, I think they had to like move their computers and shit. Like, it's probably like a a safety security sort of thing,
Right.
like so they can't just like you log into whatever you want on your personal computer. That's probably not allowed. But so they had to have like, you know, their headsets, their whole like desk set up, and she lives in just a studio.
Right.
And so she was going stir crazy, like, because it's like when you're not like you're just in the same exact room at all times. You could turn around and see the same exact thing.
Right.
Like whether you're working or you're trying to chill, it'd be hard to turn it off. It's
For sure. It's important to get that scenery change. You know, like that's how we separate work from home. You know, like when you go to your job, like that scenery, what's around you, what's surrounding you,
right.
that's work. When you go home, different scenery, different vibe, different environment. When you're in the same vibe all day, like home is now work and work is now home.
Yeah.
Like it starts to mess you up
It's
after a while.
heavy, man. Yeah, it's kind of weird, you know. Like we do kind of, we have like kind of personalities that we turn on, and like, you know, parts of ourselves that we're like making sure we're sharpening in certain areas. So like when you go to work, it's like, all right, turn on, like let's be school counselor, like let's be the most this that I can be.
Right.
But when you're at home, it's probably like a little different, you know, because you're also trying to, it's your home, it's safety,
Like
it's
I'm being me.
vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm being me, but also trying to do my job, not in my job setting.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You know how it is. We all carry so many different personas, so many different personalities. Like we're all so many different people in one, and it's crazy. Like
Right.
we all know ourselves. We can all say we're this type, we're this person, but we carry so many different characters in our brain, and we're chameleons. We mold to 100%. We mold to the environment we're around.
Yeah.
You know, unless you're like a super narcissistic person, like you're gonna mold to whatever environment you're around because you want to blend in. That's just human nature.
Yeah, you want to belong.
Yeah, you're gonna assimilate.
Yeah, I think that you know, I always think of it as back when I first started working, 16, 17, I was working at like PacSun clothing store, and then munition fuel, like a moto lifestyle store, and just thinking about the like even as a person behind the counter, like people walk in, I talk about the example of, you know, like an older lady walks in by herself, or an older lady walks in with her young grandson. I'm like, hey ma'am, how are you today? And you know, I'm more gentle in my demeanor. Well, you know, in 30 minutes, once she's done, she's bought her stuff, whatever, see you later, have a great day. Like 3 skateboarder dudes walk in, like they just got out of school. I'm like, what up, my dudes? How you doing? Like, you know, we have these different, I think that we're always trying to be, or try to communicate that we're this consistent one thing, and it like puts a kind of a hold on all of us, like, because we, you know, because someone always expects you to be that thing, or they expect you to be something else in certain environments. We're impressive fucking creatures when it comes to this stuff.
Oh, yeah. There's so much to us, man, and it's crazy. Like I feel like we change and evolve so many times and adapt to whatever environment we're in. So whenever you're like around people you're not with all the time, and like one time you give them one persona and the next it's another, but it's because you're in a different environment, a different vibe. People think you're fake. It's like, I'm not fake. I'm just in a different headspace. I'm in a different environment. So I might have been wilding over here this time, but this vibe's chill. So I'm chilling. And it's like, I'm not changing. I'm not being fake. I'm just adapting to where I am and what's going on at this point in time.
Right. And it's an important like skill almost to sharpen. And, you know, I think on the flip side, when other people around you are doing it, I think like everybody could be a little more lenient almost. Like, okay, like you're just in that vibe. Okay. Like, you know, we're always trying to understand each other anyway, but we could really have some leeway when we let each other just like, I think I kind of got you figured out, but I also know that I don't, and that's all right. Like you're just trying to live your life.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to figure anyone out.
Right.
When you figure someone out, it's like, where do you, like,
what's the, like,
what's
them?
next? Like I just like know you. Like, this is all I'm going to know you as forever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I feel like, especially over the years, you know, so like Shaylee and I have been together for like almost 10 years. And, you know, I've changed so much in the last couple of years, but there's also like even before that, there's plenty of sides of me that like she doesn't know, and there's plenty of sides of her that like I don't know.
Right.
And then we also just getting older together, like we
Mhm.
inevitably change as you know, you get in your latter 20s and you start just looking at
Yeah.
life differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super interesting.
I feel like that's so good though for a relationship standpoint.
Yeah,
Is just think about it, like you guys are still constantly like learning who each other are.
uh-huh.
Like imagine if you guys were the exact same like when you guys started, like you guys would be burnt out.
Yeah, we'd be a couple of little
You
kids
guys-
dating.
Yeah, you guys would run out of stuff to talk about. Like you have the same conversations forever.
Right.
But as you guys both evolve and you guys both grow, you guys got new jobs, new lifestyles, like new questions are gonna be raised, new
Right.
conversations are gonna be raised. It's just healthy for a relationship.
Right. And you know, hanging out with different people, like you were saying, who you're
Exactly.
around, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
you're represented by them. Like, I think it's something like for me at my age, I started to discover like, you know, that inevitable, that thing you hear that like you're the sum of the 5 people you hang around or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's like unreal. Like you're like, that ain't true. And then you kind of start, for me, it's like you kind of start thinking back, it's like, oh man, like, okay, I was that when I was hanging out with those people often. Or you kind of just look at, you know, me and the boys growing up as 15, 16-year-olds, like, of course we're still boys.
Yeah.
But like when you aren't hanging out all the time, there's like I don't know, there's like a growth
Mhm.
that like, I don't know, you don't go back to hanging out with your boys and become the exact same person you were when
Right.
you were 16 when you
Right.
met.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, we're always adapting and growing. It's a beautiful thing to like have. I'm pretty lucky to have a lot of the same homies as I
Yeah,
did,
same.
and we're just
Absolutely.
growing together.
Yeah.
Have you felt that like your friend group, like you guys have grown over the years in different ways, like changed when you
Oh.
watched it?
Man, my whole friend group, everyone's doing their own thing. Like so many of us are doing completely different things, but we still get together and vibe out. Like
Yeah, still all love.
like so many different careers in my friend group, so many different, like it's crazy. Like I don't even know how to say it. Like we just it all works. Yeah. Like
What was it? All right, so if you had to go in the form of, if you're describing it to somebody, telling them what clique you were in, what was your high school like? What was your homies like?
oh man.
Like I feel like I was like this. I was pretty all over. You know, I liked everybody, but I was a
Yeah.
skater inherently. I feel like first.
I didn't really. I don't know. It's a tough. I mean, I'm sure some people would say I was in a clique, but I fucked with everybody, dude.
Yeah.
Like I loved everyone. Like I say all the time, like the people I missed the most in high school were like acquaintances. Like not my best homies, but dudes I knew that I would never see again after high school.
Mm.
Like looking back, like those are the dudes I always knew I was gonna miss the most, and I do, because like you're always gonna have your boys, like you're always gonna have your best friends, like not to downplay their relationship, but like you know they're always gonna be there.
Right.
But so like the friendships I cherished the most were like the dudes like I didn't kick it with unless I was at school.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
we didn't go home after school and like kick it, but if we're in school or we got a class together, we're bullshitting and having a great time.
It's almost like you appreciate, like you know, you're not gonna have a ton of time with this person, so you're just like,
Right.
just really appreciate what I got, what they
Right.
can offer me.
And for I don't know, for whatever reason, I always knew at that age that was a thing, and I wasn't gonna be friends with this dude or these dudes forever, or girls.
Hmm.
And so I always took advantage of those friendships.
I feel like that's pretty powerful. A lot of us don't even think that way. And as far as, you know, we're like, oh, we're living through a lot of relationships, and whether you're meeting people short term or long term, like you don't really think of like, what is this the last time I'm going to see this person?
Right.
Is my last conversation with this person, can I say that it was valuable?
Right.
That's kind of a weird thing.
Yeah. Because no one's gonna think like that.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, if you're meeting someone at a concert, like out of town, yeah, obviously it's like you could probably never see this person again. But if it's locally, like you're gonna see him again, probably.
Yeah. I always try to wonder, you know, like how our town is different than like bigger cities when it comes to that stuff. Like small town, do we assume that we're probably going to know them forever? Do we like, do we try to make the core? So think about like New York, you like go to one studio, you know, one small place in New York.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a job that you took out there, or you don't know anybody out in New York, like everybody you meet is going to be completely just the interaction that you had with them.
Oh, for sure.
But in a small town, it's like, oh, okay, so you're cousins to so and so, and your dad's so and so. It's like you can find a connection with all of these people, especially as you get older. It's interesting to think of the dynamic here. We have a small town, but a big small town, and to me, it's really cool to just, I don't know, like people you always loved, you always like got along with them, but then you see them like as they get older and they start to become like a grown man, grown woman, and you're like, oh, dude, you're so cool, like you're awesome. Yeah. I always saw that part in you, but now like you're really expressing it and you're finding a way for other people to see that part of you.
It's dope seeing people evolve, man.
It's fantastic.
It's crazy. Even people that like fell off for a little bit and they build themselves back up.
That's a thing of beauty.
That's the shit I love. Yes. I love to see that. But no, that reminds me of the first time we talked, like before you really kicked this podcast off, and you deleted our talk.
It's a good one too.
But no, I remember we were talking, because we were talking about like best friends, like small towns compared to like bigger cities. And when I was at Central Washington, like I always talk with other dudes and like trying to fill them out, and they're like blown away that I had more than like one best friend or two best friends.
Right.
And I was like, that was the vibe from like every dude that was from like Seattle or Tacoma or any of those bigger cities. And I was like, that's crazy to me. Like you're gonna sit here and tell me like you might be able to say you have one best friend. Like, like I feel like I can say I have like 30 best friends that are like dudes that I like care about a lot.
Yeah, and you've been to their house and you met their family. Like that's a lot of connection.
I couldn't imagine that. Like having one imagine only hanging out with one person.
Sounds boring.
Like you guys are gonna hate each other eventually.
Well, I mean, like brother and sister relationship is a good example. Like you love each other, of course, you love hanging out with them, but after a while, you just have little buttons that you poke on each other.
Exactly.
Seems
like,
inevitable.
That's just, I mean, that's life. You're not gonna get along with someone 100% of the time. Like, it's not how it works.
Yeah.
So it's like growing up in a small town, like you get to have all those friendships and all those best friends, and like you just get to hang out with whatever like vibe you're in on that day. Like this day I'm feeling this homie. Like he's like his vibe's what I need today. And the next day it might be someone else.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I feel like that goes back to like the chameleon personality. Maybe a lot of people in small towns are good at chameleon personalities. Maybe that's a nice trait.
Well, because you have to, like, everyone knows you. Like, you can't, like, you're gonna adapt to whoever you're with.
Right.
Like, you can't be the same all the time.
It's so true. There's like a consistency. There's thinking about just the sides of ourselves, because there's a consistency that like there is a you, obviously a constant you, and you've got to like try to be true to that self and try to figure out what that is, what that means to you. Yeah. But otherwise it's like you're kind of just trying to enjoy life and trying to bump into people and see how they're enjoying life.
Right. And I guess I should back up a little bit. Like, I'm not saying you can't be the same morally or like this, like deep down, like obviously you can stay 100 with that. Like, I'm saying like, as far as your vibe, like how, like, are you chill that day? Or like you hype that day? Like, vibes change. And like, not like who you are as a person. I'm not saying like, obviously you're going to be who you are as a person, but like your vibe that day, like that's the chameleon. Like, that's what's going to change day to day. Like, you're going to be in a different mood every day.
Yeah. Well, when you get around people you love, like they're cool with that. They're like, oh, you're having an off day. That's cool. Still love it.
Yeah, and they're gonna accept whatever vibe you're in, and they're gonna adapt.
Do you think that like the people who in a bigger town, like where they didn't have a ton of best friends, like do you think they felt like maybe a little more pressure to like always be on, like if because you don't have that comfort of all your homies. Exactly. Yeah, that's crazy.
And that's got to wear you out.
Yeah,
for sure. Like, not being able to like bounce back and forth, like always having to be this like type A. Like, what if it's a day you need type B?
Yeah. What if it's a day where you're just hurting?
Or you don't want to be on, but you got to fake it.
Right. I think that I've seen my friend group, people that I've hung out with, like, since we were young, and like, you hang out with them in different ways too. Like, I feel like, we go on a boating trip. I have a few friends that we go on a boating trip with every year. And, like last, what was it, Labor Day or something, we had gone. And I remember this moment of all of us, we're all like latter 30s now, and we've been doing it for a while. We've been hanging out for a while, many years, but we had like a day where just for like an hour, we were drinking and partying all day, like having a great time, but just in the middle of the lake on the boat, we just turned it off and we started bullshitting. And for an hour, we were talking about like our relationships with our parents. We were talking about like what, like just more serious stuff, like emotional things. Like we're kind of swapping back. It was like this homie council, you know? And, there's a lot of, if it's something that I value much. It's so cool to have. Yeah. I wonder if not a lot of people have that. Yeah. And I think that a lot of times it's like we're so afraid to have like the weird conversations, right? We're like, I don't want to show them that side of me. Like, I don't want them to think that I'm not tough or.
Right. Well, that's the difference between being around people that truly value like what's going on in your life. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to have those conversations if you don't know like if that person truly cares what you're saying. But when you're around those people that like they're listening and they give a shit and they know you care, those are just easier conversations to have.
It's funny that as you were explaining that to me, I wasn't paying attention. I was trying to fix that lamp the whole time. I was just shining my eye. I just
kept it rolling.
But that's the thing, man. Like, you got to be able to trust one another. You got to be able to like. As you get older, man, you realize that once you just try to like, you start having those conversations with your homies, or you start like asking them like, "Hey, bro, like, are you good? Do you need to talk? Do you need to, these conversations that our upbringing, like our societal upbringing, like not just our individual parents, but like we just don't talk about the real shit all the time. Like we're not allowed to talk about, I mean, think about 20 years ago, like anxiety and depression, like 20 years ago, nobody really had anxiety and depression or really knew about it or how to talk about it or whatever. And
it was there, just people didn't know.
Right. And we probably had to like keep it under the surface too. We had to keep our faces on too much. Yeah. Yeah. It's nice to grow and adapt. It bothers me every time when I can hear that so loud in my ears. It just throws me for a loop, man.
What is it?
I think it's just my mom upstairs running water, and it's just running through the pipes. But these mics just pick it up like mad. Yeah. But
I heard it earlier, but I wasn't sure what it was.
Yeah, I wish my ADHD is like, pay attention, bro. Be right here.
For sure.
But yeah, man, it's a beautiful thing to grow. It's a beautiful thing to change. It's a beautiful thing to like allow other people to grow and change too. Like, like just allowing ourselves to grow into what we really want, because everybody sees you in a certain light. Everybody sees each other. You see your homies. I don't know, like as much as you've seen your good homies like be dickheads, be turds, as much as like I've done the same thing. Like there's also, for me, I don't know, you just get older and I just start to see them more in the light of like, oh, here's what you're going to accomplish. Like you're going to do this thing, and you value it a lot more. And so you go into those conversations without thinking you need to like meet them. Like I was talking about the example of working at the store, like a grandma. It's like, okay, I think I need to like meet her at her level of like, I'm making this assessment of looking at them, and I'm going to try to just be the person that she needs me to be. But yeah, you can like get rid of all that, man. You can get rid of the facades and just like talk to your homies. It's something super valuable.
I think the whole grandma thing, like interacting, like being polite, stuff like that. I think we subconsciously like put that on because there is a little kid there, and we subconsciously like want to show that kid like how to interact with like our elders.
That's very true.
Like she's an elder. Like I'm gonna show this younger kid like how you're supposed to treat him.
Yeah, that is true, because if you think of like how a kid with his own grandma, he's kind of a little turd, you know, because it's grandma.
Yeah.
And then he sees another kid who or a guy who he thinks is cool, being respectful to grandma. Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, and kids are always watching. So
Always
it's like,
watching.
So it's like if you don't greet her that way, the kid's gonna be like, oh, maybe that's how it's supposed to be.
Right. I mean, we don't realize that we're doing it, but even when I was younger, I mean, I was always looking up to older people, trying to like mimic them, you know? Like I remember I was talking about with my homie Dev, I had these two guys that lived across the street from me when I was growing up, and they were twins, and they were a few years older than me, and I knew that I was like probably the most annoying kid ever, but they were nice to me. Like, and they were skateboarders too. So like the things that you kind of try to do to impress those people, and you don't realize, but like you said, like they're always watching. Like, there's always somebody watching, and it's a good thing to like, you know, put on yourself. Like, don't put a bunch of pressure on yourself, but like sometimes we can get in our own heads, and sometimes it's important to remember, you know, like, hey, somebody's watching. Like there's kids watching, they're looking up to me, they're looking for guidance. You know, I try to, even the neighbor kid across the street, like I always try to be polite to him, but I always try to like treat him like an adult, you know?
Right.
Like I was like, hey man, what's up? How are you? Like what's been going on with school? I think that it's our interactions with each other are so interesting. We don't really take a look at them, but sometimes we get too caught up, I think, in you see a young kid and it's like the goo goo gaga, like you got to treat, you know, sometimes you can just treat them like a person and just be yourself.
For sure.
Yeah. What's your, all right, let's wind back. I want to get the listeners, because we didn't post the last one because I fucking deleted it. I'm trying to make sure they know you a little bit. You went to Central?
Yeah.
How many years did you go to Central?
I went to Central for 2 years.
For 2 years? What did you study?
Interdisciplinary studies.
Okay.
Psych, social, and anthro.
How many years ago?
I graduated in 2016.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
You graduated yesterday?
In 2016, yeah.
Oh, wait. I was like, wait, hold up. Oh, dude, yeah, no, I saw. It's actually sad. Well, I mean, it's better than nothing, I guess. But like, they drove up and got their diplomas. Did you see that?
Yeah.
That's a strange thing.
It is.
What has been? Have you been involved in any like the graduation stuff for the kids graduating high school now? Has it been like crazy weird for them? Have you?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, there's, like, I feel bad that they didn't get a ceremony. I mean, they had a virtual one. It was on KLTV. But I mean, you only get one graduation, so it's kind of a bummer that they didn't get a actual ceremony.
You know, it's funny. I feel like when I was graduating, it was kind of this like whatever. Like I guess I'll walk. Like it was like this like I guess I'll do it. But you know, then you get up there and you're smiling ear to ear, and walking across that stage. Like you can no doubt like you're dapping up the teachers for sure.
Yeah, it's one of those things you downplay until you're in the moment. And then it hits you. It's like, never gonna see 80% of these people ever again in my life. Like, this is actually real. Like, this is real shit. Like, I should probably care a little bit here.
Right, dude. I kind of wonder. You know, I just feel my sense of like hope. Obviously, like through, you know, it changes and it adapts, and we get used to whatever our normal is. But like first month of coronavirus and everything was like shutting down. Like, man, my hope and like, I'm just like, what is going to happen for the future? Like, what should I be planning for? Like, cause for me, I work in live events. I'm a gig worker. Like all my shit got canceled, and I'm like, I don't know, like, do I just hold tight and then in a few months I'll start doing the same thing, or do I need to shift, or what's going on? I can't imagine trying to plan your like future. Like, oh, I'm ready for college. I'm ready for this next step in my life. Like these poor kids, you know?
It's a huge step and a huge next chapter with so many uncertainties.
So what do you think is going to be, obviously because of this, not just this, but this is obviously going to cause like over the next 5-10 years, like trickles in our education system for sure. Like, so what's your broad predictions here? Like, how do you think, you know, teaching and schooling, even on college level down below, like all of it, like do you think there's anything for sure going to change that you're seeing already?
It's hard to say, man. There's no one really knows what's going on right now. as far as education. So I don't know. It's hard to say. It's crazy. It could change education forever, or a couple more months are gonna go by and everything's gonna go back to normal. It's hard to say.
I feel like it's not. I mean, I don't know what the hell what it looks like, but to me, like going back to normal just seems like it's not going to happen. I don't know.
I know. I hate to think that, but it crosses your mind.
I just think that so for me, I just think that there's so many things that the coronavirus and the quarantine and like this whole thing like pointed out. That's like, we knew it was bad, but it's like pointing out, you know, as we grow with technology, even as we grow as just like a civilization and humanity, and we get smarter, it's like you got to be updating the books that the kids are reading and what they're teaching and why you're teaching it to them. And you know, a lot of our school system is based off of like, let's get some factory workers ready to go, and that's not the world we live in. Like factory workers is like the last thing you want to be being trained for. And again, I'm not like, I haven't been involved in any sort of school in the last 10 years, so like it could have been fucking changing drastically for all I know. But, I don't know. It just seems like we're gonna have like the stuff that you and I learned when we were back in school. It seems like if I was a kid, I would want to know way different stuff. Like I would want to know way more about the world and not just like the, you know, what happened in American history. So I don't know, but there is a difference. Like it's cool to have a bunch of teachers on Zoom and stuff and teaching in that way. Like it'd be cool to see kids being able to like learn what they really want. Like if, you know, you're 13 and you love music production, you know, like if you could be able to like get matched up with like a great music producer teacher, even if there's not one in your town, like you take a Zoom class online and that's like your schooling or something. But that'd be cool. But there's a lot that you miss out when it's online.
But it's also going to cost money.
Yeah, that's true.
Which it doesn't in public schools.
Public schools are cheap.
They're free.
Free. What a weird. We're up against change for sure, man. I'm just kind of curious, like how it's gonna go down next. All right, play with me. That shit is crazy different. Like school starts next year, and it's so different. It's unrecognizable. Fantasize with me. What do you think it would look like? What would be the best case scenario?
The best case scenario?
Like, let's say we get like cash flow of money too. Like we could just, the government has just supplied like, all right, we need to put all of our money into schools in this situation. What would it look like? Like, how can we best teach the kids? Like,
are you saying if like we had all the money to make education the way we think it should be?
Yeah, let's do that.
Oh man. Well, I would go Monday through Thursday for sure.
4 days? 100%.
For sure.
Work week should be like that too.
Yeah. I just think that's 5 days is a lot for 14 or 6 through 18-year-old.
Right.
Like, it's a grind.
Yeah.
And like mental illness is just getting worse year by year. There's some like kids these days have so much shit going on in their lives. Not that we didn't either, but it's just a whole different, like with social media, like it's negativities in their face every single day.
Right.
Like no matter how positive their life is, like they're watching negativity on a daily basis, and that subconsciously starts to just mess with your mindset.
100%.
And so, I think kids get burnt out mentally and physically and emotionally. Like, do they need to go to school 5 days a week? Is it gonna hurt them at all? If anything, they're gonna get more retention because they're getting more sleep, hopefully, if they take advantage of the extra day.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I would do that for sure, though.
Yeah, 4 days.
And I feel like it also would boost. It would boost your staff and how they work, productivity. I feel like it would boost it because they're getting an extra day too to prepare or rest or reset the brain. And education's tough, man.
Dude, for real.
Like it's tough. Like people get burnt out too. Adults do. So I feel like it's a win-win. I feel like everyone would benefit from a 4-day week.
I think that's a solid idea. I've seen that idea, like I was saying, for work too. I've seen, like Reddit, just the titles on Reddit, like every couple of weeks is like, should we go to a 4-day work week? Or like, is a 4-day work week coming? And stuff like that. It would obviously trickle over into schooling too.
Right.
We forget that, when you're learning, like when you're consuming, like you're taking stuff in, it's not always just like instant. Like your brain, your subconscious mind is always like working in the background for you. It's putting together some stuff. Like you got to have the sleep to even be able to like comprehend.
For sure.
It's how our bodies work. We've got to be able to like sit on some stuff and change our views of it. Or, you can't just like, all right, here's the thing you're going to learn, and I'm going to shove it into your brain as hard as I can for an hour, and then you know it. That's rest and recovery is when we learn. It's just like with muscles, man. Like you go to the gym and you tear it up, and then when you're healing, so that scar tissue like reheals, right?
Yeah.
That's how you get big.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that I don't know. To me, it's very interesting to see how the Zoom calls and FaceTime and like for me, like my counselor, like I started doing FaceTime calls for that, it wasn't as good at all. But it was like, okay, that is way better than just nothing for sure. Like being able to have that FaceTime conversation or just walk around on speakerphone, whatever. Yeah. I'm wondering if like we'll improve it. Like we'll take the good things. Like, okay, this is nice to be able to like have kids in their own safe environment, but still be able to learn. But I'm kind of wondering if maybe like as our technology advances, if we can have some sort of, because there's still this, everybody feels it. Like when you're, it's just, of course, not the same as being in person. Like if I was trying to do the podcast like just through Zoom calls, it's not as smooth. You don't get the vibe.
It's not the same vibe. No.
We gotta have that human interaction.
Yeah. It's that biology in the air,
right?
Bouncing back and forth.
Well, and you're able to like when you're talking to, even as a counselor, like you're able to talk to a kid and being able to like put your hand on his shoulder and you like be frank with him, look him in the eye and be like, come on, man. Or there's a lot of power in that. Like we're with words, we're trying to communicate how we feel.
Yeah. So there's definitely a presence you feel in person rather than on a phone. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Do you feel like your upbringing, did you always plan on being a counselor? Like since you were young, like where was your head at when you were back in school yourself?
I didn't think about being a counselor until I was at Central. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was a late decision.
Yeah. What have you, it'd be hard to summarize, I'm sure, but like what are some things that you've learned from it, or like what's a big takeaway like thus far? It's been a couple years now.
As far as being a counselor?
Yeah.
Someone always needs you.
Oh, there you
go. Someone always needs a person to fall back on. And it's not always going to be the person they're closest to. So like for a kid, it's not always going to be the kid's parent. It's not always going to be the kid's guardian. It's not always going to be the kid's best friend. Right. It's going to be, it could be anybody. And as a school counselor, a lot of times that's you.
That's pretty real, because I feel like I 100% wouldn't have, I don't know if I super opened up to my school counselors, but there's like, I would definitely be willing to tell someone who like is in that position over somebody in my family or somebody close to me.
Right.
It's crazy. It goes back to that facade we're always trying to keep up, right? We don't want them to think that we're weak. We got some shit going on at home.
Yeah.
Like
you want to be tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was my problem growing up. I had, like, as you've talked about your life too, like we both hid so much about our life. Like we didn't want anyone to know like what it really was. Right. And I feel like I was super misunderstood growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah. In a lot of ways. Because I always acted like I had it all figured out. And I always acted like I had it good.
Same here.
And I got away with it because I was a good athlete. So I catered to that and used that to make people think that I was good.
Right. See, I mean, I did my similar things in so many ways. Like I was just talking about, just as an example, like at the end of my work shifts, I would, like, it's like 9 o'clock at night or whatever. And your manager or whoever was like working with you, like, all right, you good? Like you need a ride? And, you walk outside because you don't have a car or whatever.
Oh yeah, my ride's right down the street.
I just got off the phone with my sister. She's on the way.
Oh, so many times.
And then
bro.
as soon as you see those taillights, all right, let's get walking. Got a couple miles to cover.
Yeah, or you get dropped off a couple houses down. Like, this is me.
Right. my homie Deb was just talking about that. He was saying like, I think his dad had like a van, and he was like in a van, and he had a van, and he was in a band, and so he had the same, like, just a natural, like, don't drop me off in front of the house sort of thing. Yeah, isn't that wild?
Yeah, it is, and it's funny because I look back and like I'm not embarrassed one bit of my upbringing. Like I didn't have much. It was a struggle. Like I went through so much shit, but looking back, I'm thankful.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I didn't struggle growing up, I wouldn't have got through anything I've gotten through in my life.
Same here.
Like I don't know, man. I'm like growing up, like I had a great childhood on one hand.
Yeah.
But my childhood was also a struggle. Like growing up with a single mom, being African American, being raised in a predominantly white town, being raised by a white family. There was a lot of confusion when I was growing up. There was a lot of.
What do you mean confusion?
Because I'm brown skin, and everywhere I look, there's no one that looks like me.
You already felt like a non-belonging sense.
Like I swore I was adopted till I was like 5.
You guys got to tell me.
Yeah, I was like, it's so funny. It's fucked up, but I was literally like till I was like 5. I was like, this ain't really my family. There's no way.
When are they gonna tell me?
Yeah. That's so messed up looking back, but
well, I was
confused. Like, literally, like my whole family is white. Like family reunions of 100, and there's one colored person there, and it's me.
Did you feel like that was it an obvious thing to people other than you? Like, was it, like, would people treat you differently because of it? Would people want to bring it up? Would people address it? Or what was it?
Well, I guess that's what I should clear up. I wasn't meaning in any way. Like, I was loved to death. But 100%. Yeah, everyone in my family. I just want to make that clear real quick.
No doubt.
But I definitely felt different.
Yeah.
Like, even though I was loved, like, in a sense, it was like I was being overloved because I was different. They were trying to, like, people were trying to compensate because they didn't want me to feel different. Which there was nothing wrong with that, but it was like, it's something you noticed.
Yeah, it's literally, I mean, they're just trying to make sure you're feeling that love,
right?
But it's
because they're family.
Yeah, but I feel like when you're a smart kid, because I always knew. So in mine, I don't know if this is super similar, but for me, like at a certain age, I realized that I was the poor kid, and like I was hanging out with the kids who like everybody else's parents would always give me the ride home. Like I didn't have my own money, so they would like other parents would cover my share of it, and like. It was all love, and like that's so great, and of course they did that, and they took care of me and like all my friends' parents and stuff.
Yeah.
But like there was a point, where I for sure like noticed that.
Yeah.
And then you start to, I have I've been kind of working through this with my counselor. I actually have I feel like when I was younger, I started to like notice that sort of stuff. I started to notice that my essentially I kind of started to pick up would these people be friends with me if they didn't know that I was like the poor kid? Like if are the parents making them hang out with me?
Right.
Like, and you know, that's a very insecure, like scary place to put yourself in as a kid, but that's kind of how I started to form. And like, it affects my relationship still to this day. Like I gotta like remind myself, like, this motherfucker loves me. That's my homie, man. Come on. What are you thinking about? Like they're not hanging out with you just cause they have to. What are you like, look around, you know, but it's stuff that pops up, you know, that's what you convince yourself when you're younger. Did you have anything like similar like that you had to kind of look back on and like reassess in that same thing when it comes to like the color of your skin?
I don't know. Like,
you just kind of like came to terms with it, I guess, as you got older.
Yeah, I mean, I dealt with racism growing up, but after a while, because back then there was really like four or five of us. Like the African American community has grown a lot now, but when I was in elementary school, I probably couldn't tell you if there was 4 or 5.
Right.
So it was a lot different, and it was something I just came to terms with. Like, people are gonna say what they're gonna say. Like, is it worth my time to get in a fight every day?
Right.
Or
not at all.
Or do I just let it roll off? I'm a kid. What change am I gonna make? You know? So do I let these kids break me down every day, or do I just let it go?
Right.
And that's how it ended up being until now. I just had that mindset and that reaction to it my whole life, so it just kind of grew with me.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, the last time we talked about giving things power.
Yeah, you give things power,
yeah,
right?
And so people just want a reaction. So there's no power in what they're saying until you give them that reaction. Like, if you just ignore them and say, like, you feel better, like, they're going to feel that type of way, and they're going to, like, feel weird, and they're going to shut the fuck up.
Right.
So that's what I always did.
That's powerful.
I never gave anyone power behind their words. I never gave them the reaction they were looking for.
You didn't let them take your power.
Because at the end of the day, they want to see your reaction. They want to see you hurt. But if you show them you ain't hurt because you don't give a fuck what they got to say, then they're not getting what they want.
Right.
And then eventually they stop saying it.
Yeah, it's literally like you. I don't know. I guess in that situation, it just seems like it's like you're clearly the one who's more intelligible about. Like someone could say all these things about you, and I just imagine you just like, all right, and you're just standing there like, so what's up? Like, and
well, I just used to be straight up. I said, do you feel better now?
Do you feel better?
And they never have anything to say.
You know, dude, that probably frustrates people.
Yeah,
too, choking over their words.
Yeah, because how do you respond to that? It's like the greatest rebuttal.
Like I'm not interacting with your bullshit, man.
Yeah.
It's dumb.
And that's not even a comeback I use for racism. That's any kind of bullshit I get. Like, right. I just, like, anyone's just being an asshole to say, do you feel better? Yeah. Okay. Move on. Let's go.
I love that shit, dude. I like that because I feel like it stops we can get so much momentum of like, you're this and you're that. And we get, social media is a good example of that, right? We're just we're fighting these like super zoomed in arguments versus super zoomed in arguments of other people's opinion. But then when you zoom out, it's like, dude, what are you talking about? You're just yelling. Like, why are you yelling? Yeah. Those sort of things.
Half the time people don't even know.
I know, but when you call them out or you like say like, do you feel better?
Yeah.
It stops them in their tracks.
Yeah. And they think about what they're actually doing.
Right.
They're like, maybe I don't actually care. Maybe I should chill.
Yeah. That's wild, man.
That's wild.
Well, so while we're right here, it's inevitable that what's going on in the world, this would lead right into. So we talked a little bit before this, like, I feel like every time I stumble upon like just the craziness that's going around in the world right now with race, I want to be clear. Like, I just feel like I don't really have like an important voice about this. Like, it's not really my place to say. But I do, like, I mean, you grew up in this town and you had to deal with, some form of racism.
Right.
And, I would hope that we've grown since then, but in case we haven't, I don't know. I guess I wouldn't want you to like be like, you need to represent, all black people and tell me what, but
one person, one voice.
Right. I just, I guess what I want to say, Mac, is like, is there a way that like me as your white friend, like, is there a way that we can have a conversation, or do we need to have a conversation? Like, can we help out people in this area by like saying a certain thing? Like, is there things that like I'm arrogant about that I don't know about?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Again, I don't want you to feel like you need to like represent or like have a huge say on it, but
Mm-hmm.
I guess without saying what's your hot take on what's going on right now, like what do you think, man? Like how can we help one another? Like because this shit is crazy to me.
Yeah.
And we need to figure out what to do next. Like if there's issues, we got to solve them and we got to figure them out. We got to make them better 100%.
Yeah.
But I think that descending into madness isn't the way. So I just
For
wanna,
sure. I think the biggest thing is just like holding yourself accountable, like being the best you can be personally, and then calling bullshit out when you see it. I feel like if everyone does that, then it weeds the bullshit out.
simple.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. I mean, at the end of the day, you can only control what you can do. So as long as everyone just worries about themselves and their own morals and their own actions,
Right.
and then when they do see shit, just call it out.
Important. I think that there's been this weird like, if you aren't with us, you're against us kind of vibe with a lot of I don't know. I guess social media is just such a it's put such a shitty thing in our heads with so much of what's going on. I feel like we're so even me, for example, like I know I have a podcast and I want to try to be like a positive person and try to like help people out and inspire people whatever way I can. So like when this started happening, I was like, dude, I need to like, do I need to say something? Do I need to see if I can help people? Like, do I need to blah blah? And then I was just like, why would I?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I ain't got, my voices shouldn't be heard right now. Like, that's not what's important. But I think that a lot of us think that we need to like do so much. Like, we need to fight this and we need to, I don't know. I guess emphasizing what you just said of like concentrating on what's in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Like fix yourself, like notice what you're saying, notice what you're doing. I think I was listening to Airik Weinstein, who's like a mathematician. He has a podcast, and he had his friend on, and they were talking about like he was kind of angry at the beginning of the podcast. He was basically like, we haven't had the conversation about race because like we it's my friend, he comes over and we start talking about the shit that we like you don't really stop and think about it.
Right.
But after he had said that, it's like, oh, okay, of course. Like, I haven't ever had this like conversation in depth with Makaio or my other friends who are black, like because it's I hate how uncomfortable the conversation gets. Like, I hate how we feel like we need to have like this weird conversation, but it's because other people are putting words in our mouths. Like when you have like just down to your level of like, this is your homie, bro. We love each other. Yeah. Like if there's something there that needs to be said, like if I was cracking inappropriate jokes that I thought was cool because we always grew up as homies and we were always cracking those jokes, like I would want to be like, oh, okay, maybe that isn't right. Like maybe that is like kind of making him feel uncomfortable. He's laughing it off. Like those sort of things. We could check ourselves, but other than that, we can't go charge against the whole world as one individual and try to think that we need to break everything.
As long as you worry about yourself and your circle, it'll benefit everyone else's circle.
I mean, that's the Jordan Peterson way anyway, man.
Yeah.
Like, make
this whole world is different circles, different cliques. So if you work on yourself, that improves your circle and the people in it. And if they do the same, then, people trickle into each other's circle.
Ripples, man.
Yeah.
Ripples for sure. Well, I mean, I wanted to make sure that we like talk about it. I'm stating it and just, it feels weird for me. Cause again, like, it's just like, you're my homie.
And you don't have a racist bone in your body. That's why it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You have this unwanted and unneeded guilt that you don't deserve.
Right.
Because
right.
you're not that person, but you feel that way because people of your descent are showing those actions.
Mm-hmm.
So you feel guilty because of that.
And that's a weird fucking thing.
It's very weird.
That now social media and the news like is forcing upon us and is able to like put in our heads. So like I sit here and I'm getting all confused and I'm like wait, do I need to check myself? Like what the fuck? But it's the media, dude. It makes us crazy. Like it fucking. I think that it's important to be fighting oppression and fighting like there's very real like there's. Just to point out, like there is racist cops, there's racist white people, there's still racism, it's there, but I don't think that, I don't know, I feel like if you just look at your circle around you, like that's all you got to worry about,
Mm-hmm.
That's, I don't know, man, it's awkward, it's weird, I hate how it's awkward, but I hope that like maybe just talking about it makes it less awkward next time or something, but you're my homie.
You're my homie. Yeah.
All right, bro. What do you think's gonna happen with all like with the craziness of the world? Like not just the race stuff, but we got coronavirus. We've got everything shut down. Like the economy's fucking weird. We've got mental health. We've got like people losing their goddamn minds.
Mm-hmm.
What, is the world descending into chaos? Are aliens gonna be the next thing? We're just gonna come break this up.
The craziest thing about all this is that like this is the craziest of the world. Like if you really think about it, this world is going bonkers.
Uh-huh.
And keeping that in mind, like everyone's like chilling. Like no one's truly freaking out. Because our generation's been through so much in our lifetime, like it's like it is what it is. But if you think about it, like everyone, like in theory, everyone should probably be freaking out because this world's going to it's literally going up in flames.
Yeah, all signs are pointing to weirdness.
Yeah, but everyone's chilling. Like that's just our society now. Like we see so much negativity on social media and so much like graphic shit every day. Like. So we're like, this doesn't faze us.
I feel like
but
that's
it probably
almost
should.
Dangerous though.
That's
like,
what I mean.
Like, I feel like fuck, man. Like, should we be paying way more attention than we are?
Right.
I mean, we have been like, we have been like so numbed to the madness of the world. We see if you look at like what the news tells us, I like to, social media and news media is very different than when it first started out. Like, I mean, social media, I guess maybe not, but like if you think about back in the day when they first had TVs and like our great grandparents or grandparents even were watching TV and shit, it was like what you watch is the truth. Like this is what the leader of your country is gonna, if he comes on the news and he has something to say, that's what you listen to, and that's the truth. But now it's like we realize years and years later, we realize that social media and the news media, it's just corporations, man. They're just trying to get you to stay on their site. They're just trying to like get the clicks, get the time on their site. And by doing that, they're gonna crank up your amygdala, man. They're gonna get you angry. They're gonna get you fearful. If it's all just love and chill and it's just pictures of sunsets on social media, like they don't get as many people on their platform. And so it's like this battle for everybody's attention. But I think that we've maximized that in so many ways. And like, now we have AI algorithms that are like feeding us exactly what we want to know. It's feeding us like, if you kind of believe this, it's going to suggest you some other stuff that will really make you believe that, because that's going to keep you on their platform longer. Dude, I think I listened to this thing from Sam Harris, and he basically had like a 2-hour long, basically kind of pointing out like a lot of the statistics of just the craziness that's going on, and essentially pointing out that like we kind of are like losing our minds in a strange sense. and I think it's because of like social media and the news, and I don't think a lot of us are aware of how much this affects us and how much we're constantly thinking about stuff that's not actually like in our lives around us in physical reality right fucking here. And man, I hope I find myself like just with talking about all these things, I find myself almost getting like mad, man, like actual anger of like, what the fuck, man? Like what I think about young kids right now growing up, like Jesus, man, these poor hopeless kids, probably because, you know, all their leaders, all of the people in charge, like it's just a known thing. Everybody's corrupt. That's just how we do it. Like kids tune into TV and they watch their president, which, you know, the president has always been someone we're supposed to be inspired by and want to like actionalize. We want to like look up to the person, the leader, you know, and there's not that. Like you pretty much know that everybody who's taking care of you doesn't really care for your best interest now. It'd be hard to be hopeful as a young kid right now, man. It kind of just makes me mad. And who I'm mad at is like the news media and like whoever the fucking puppeteer is that's controlling whatever the hell's going on right now. Like it's just bullshit, man. It's
crazy. It's crazy.
We're turning against.
I feel like there's the mental health stuff's just continuing to grow.
Yeah.
It's gonna continue to get worse. I mean,
but the GDP is rising, bro.
Yeah.
Don't you understand? It's the best it's ever been.
I am not a parent, obviously, but I feel like it's more difficult. And I said this in an interview a couple months ago, TDN. They interviewed a couple counselors, but I feel like today it is harder to raise a child than it was in the 80s or 70s, because back then, you know, there's a couple TV channels, you know, so like your influence was slim. Like your influence was whatever those three channels were.
Mm-hmm.
So like everyone's watching the Brady Bunch. It's okay. All these kids growing up, okay, this is how you act. So the morals were more controlled. The influence is more controlled. And nowadays, kids can get influence from millions of different outlets, negative or positive, and parents don't really have control of what those influences are. Unless you literally just take away all social media. But I mean, that's going to cause problems in its own because they're left out and they don't fit in because they don't have a cell phone and every one of their friends do.
How many kids didn't have social media when you were teaching? Is it pretty much all kids in high school have social media?
Oh, 100%.
100%.
Yo, 98%.
Right. Man, it is super weird to think that like there's people who, like rich businessmen who are just doing the money thing really well. They're the ones who are influencing your kids more than you. Like that's fucking crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't know what to do. I mean, here's the thing is like, I have my own addictions towards social media. If I had a kid, I would, you know, maybe I'm sitting there right next to him on the couch on my own social media.
Absolutely.
You know, I think that I posted this thing yesterday that was mostly nonsensical, but what I was basically saying is like technology, you know, we've always grown like, so humans, like, okay, think of humans like right after apes, man. Like we started using tools, like whatever your belief is, how this happened. We started using tools, and then we started communicating with each other. Started just, you know, civilization is able to grow because our ability to use these tools. But every time we learn about a new tool, we get like let's call it a psychotechnology, which is just like the human brain's ability to operate that tool and remember what it does and then build upon that. So like we made the wheel for pottery. I mean, I don't know how many years it was in between, but eventually it's like, oh, flip that up and it's a wheel, you know, and you could do a lot with that. You could start, again, I don't know how the hell it went, but you know, eventually years and years, you can get a car out of the wheel. Yeah. And we get psychotechnologies along the way. We get the ability to understand these things more and more. And it's just inevitable. So now think about human beings when the wheel first came around, like a newborn baby, like the amount of information they would have to know, let's say ages 0 through 5. Like you pretty much just got to learn how to survive and work that wheel or whatever the technology is at that time. But now it's like kids are smart. Like they know so much information of psychotechnology, so many ways to use different kinds of tools and different technologies. And I think that if we look at, the human consciousness, it's inevitable. It's no doubt that we're like changing and adapting and, evolution. That's how it works, right? I just think that what I was pointing out in the post is kind of that we don't really realize how much we're changing, like with the technology, until it's like a few years afterwards, and like you can look back and be like, oh wow, that changed our culture a lot. Like there was probably 10, 15, 20, 30 years of like when cars were first starting to come out and start to actually like to where, people were starting to see them, where the people would realize like, oh, our life is way different. Like before the cars, I would have been just working on the farm all day, and I never would have been able to drive to this next town or whatever. We start just expanding and society connects. I think that for me, someone who, my age, you were 1 year under me, but my age, I always say we're riding the wave of technology of social media. Like we
definitely grew with it.
Yeah, it was just enough to be just cool as shit. We were right at the nice edge, and there wasn't a ton. I don't think there was like a crazy amount of like competition, so it wasn't like, it's like you get what the popular thing is. Like now you're gonna get an iPhone back. For us, it was the Razor, man. Like if you got the Razor, it's like, oh shit. Like, and you don't think about the bad repercussions of the Razor. You're just like, bro, my shit is slim as all hell. Look at this phone. I can just put it whatever pocket I want.
Click.
Yeah. Goodbye, and you hang it up. I kind of miss being able to just do it.
Miss my pink Razor.
I feel like so many people had a pink Razor. I don't know if that was a thing.
That was OG.
With my pink shoelaces. But I guess what I'm saying is like, me looking back in retrospect, like I loved social media. I loved all the crazy cool shit that like technology and all the, MySpace, MSN Messenger, it was so cool. But like, we don't really think of like, oh, I wonder how that like changed my consciousness. I wonder how that changed my personality, how that changed what I do every day, how it changed my habits, how it changed my interactions with other people. And I can look back now and say it 100% did. I think that I lost a lot of like my social interactive ability just because like when I was working at warehouses for 5 years, I would literally be on my phone for like 10 hours. Just, if the machine's running good, if you're doing everything right, you're fucking just side glancing at your phone. I think that it like hurt my ability to have like eye contact and great communication. And I just wonder if we've changed so much. Our psychotechnology has changed so much that we're like almost able to not really see that we're like losing our minds. Like we have changed so much along with it that we haven't been able to stop and be like, are we going in the right direction? Are we like, why are we changing with this? Why is it that we want these things? Like, why do we have social media? Does it benefit our life? Do we just have it because everybody has it? What do we think about it? Do we think that, we were talking about how we have to be a chameleon all the time, how we have to change who we are, like in certain aspects. Social media is kind of this weird thing that makes the societal part of our brains or the self that we identify with. We're always reconnecting. Like we know we're this. We're reconnecting to that one thing. And like, what if that ain't really you? Like, what if when you were 16, you made your social media and you're like, I'm the fucking cat guy.
Yeah.
I love cats. And you're the _cat_ guy. And then like, when you're 20, you're like, I don't fucking care about cats, but like, this is my whole personality now. I've just made it and I'm just coming back to it. So I don't know, man. I think that I just want to point out that we need to be aware of how these things are changing us and, just take a look at it, man. I think it's making us lose our fucking minds.
Yeah, it certainly might be. It's crazy to think about like where this all goes.
Yeah.
Because if you think 10 years ago, 5 years ago, we're all thinking, there's no way anything's getting crazier than this. Like, there's no way they're going to make a better iPhone than this. There's no way they're going to make a better TV than this. Like, this is it for technology.
Right.
And every single year, it just continues. So it's like, where does this go?
Well, and think about how recycled we are too. You look at an old TV. If you look at a TV that came out 6 years ago, you're like, that's like the picture is very good.
Yeah, it's so played out.
Like our brains are like our psychotechnology is
Yeah.
literally getting better. Where it's like 4K is a good TV.
Yeah.
Like you don't put that big old tube TV in front of me. It's terrible.
Exactly. And it's funny because like the best comparison is like watching like a old sports game from like the 90s, and it's like, damn, like we really used to think like this was like picture perfect. Like we used to think like this quality was like, because it was the best at the time.
Right.
Like that was the best we've ever seen. And then you go back and it's like, how did we even watch that? Like I can't even see the TV.
Well, even at the beginning, we didn't even care that it was shitty. It was just like you could watch that and you're not there.
Well, and because we didn't know it was shitty.
Right. Dude, it's like the more knowledge we get, it's almost like it inevitably comes with the bad. You know, the good always comes with the bad.
Yeah. It's crazy to think where technology will go.
What are we working
Because
towards?
you know it's gonna keep growing.
Dude,
History has proved that. So
well, and it grows at a Moore's law. It grows at a rate where it just keeps like doubling, and it's faster and faster. And have you heard of Neuralink? Elon Musk's like the chip that goes in your brain.
no.
So
Sounds like something I don't want.
dude, it's crazy.
I heard about Bill Gates trying to do something like that.
Oh yeah, see with his 5G towers.
Yeah.
He's causing the coronavirus. I saw all that conspiracy theory shit. Well, so the thing with Neuralink and Elon Musk. So he was like less than a month ago or so. He was on Joe Rogan again, and he basically announced or like kind of told Joe like where they're at with Neuralink. And Neuralink is going to be a microchip that will go into your brain, and it's like obviously it's not forced. Like not everybody has to do it, but they peel back a part of your skull, and it's essentially like it's like uncorking like a little part of your actual skull itself, and then they put the chip in there, and then it just smooths back over. So it'll be like a flush thing. And what it's able to do, man, it reminds me of like Neo in the fucking Matrix. It essentially, he literally said it's within a year. It'll be like in the first human for sure, and you're literally able to repair neural pathways in a sense of like if you're blind, it'll make you see again. If you're paraplegic, if you can't control your legs, it will reform the connections that you need and start rebuilding, and you could fucking use your legs again.
So he's gonna start building superhumans.
Superhumans, dude. And he said, and the weird thing is, it said you'll actually be better than you were in a sense. Like after, like it's not like an immediate, like you can all of a sudden just like walk on the walls or anything, but it repairs the thing that can repair the things. So like your eyesight, if you had deterioration of eyesight, like it rebuilds your cornea and stuff, like your eyesight would be better than it was before.
It's crazy.
And that's, dude, he was saying that within a year, it's going to be in the first human. It's just wild.
It's crazy.
I think that we're, I don't know, Elon calls us organic bootloaders for AI. And it just kind of creeps me out, but I don't know.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's a trip.
Technology has taken us for a rip. I'm glad that I love technology, and I think it's all fascinating. I love like learning about it. I mean, now music wise, you're able to, there's people who like plug like a transmitter into like leaves and plants, and we're able to like play the sound that plant makes through speakers now. Like, cause plants make an individual, like they emit a frequency.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
It's crazy.
It's so sick. I'm excited for it, but I think it's important to take a look and like realize where we're at, right? Like instead of just being on social media, like make sure you ask yourself, like, wait, hold up, why am I on here? Like, what am I gaining from this? What is this giving me? You know,
Nothing.
Nothing. I feel like it's more of like a job to me now. Like I'm not on it nearly as much, and I don't like it. I actually wish that I didn't have it. But I feel the need to like.
I think we all do deep down,
right?
I don't think any of us truly want it.
But we're just so addicted to it.
Yeah,
we're just slaves to it.
It's just like, I don't know. That's just my perspective. I don't know that because I don't think for other people, but that's my perspective.
Yeah, I think that if you told me that 5 years ago, I'd be like, bro, I love, like, I would just explain to you this in-depth thing of like why social media is good for me and how it makes
Greatest
my life
thing
better.
since sliced bread.
Then I don't realize that I'm like, as people are trying to talk to me, I'm like, oh yeah, and I'm glancing at my phone.
Right.
Like, what the heck, man? Like, be present and get here.
Mm-hmm.
It takes away a lot from us. It teaches us a crazy ton, but we just gotta notice it. We gotta realize that it's changing us.
For sure.
Maybe AI is gonna sprout up out of the ground. Maybe that's the aliens.
Oh man.
Didn't you say we talked about aliens last time?
Yeah, we did.
I'm trying to lead us into it again.
I don't remember what we were saying.
I'm trying to sound like a couple of madmen predicting the future with aliens.
Yeah, man. It's hard to say it ain't coming. I'll tell you that.
I mean, the CIA, didn't they like submit documents that like said like, yeah, we saw it, or they don't dispute it, rather?
At this point in life, I am not doubting anything. I'm convinced that whoever needs to will hide anything. So if it's out there, they're hiding it.
Right.
And I'm no longer doubting that.
Probably been out there for a long time too.
Facts.
Yeah.
There's a reason you can't go anywhere near Area 51.
Yeah, dude, we were talking about that. Think about all the weird things that happen, and then we kind of forget about them. Like Area 51, it was pretty much this like couple months of, on social media anyway, and Reddit and whatever, of like,
they're trying to get militias together and rush it.
Right, bro. Well, no, but that's what I'm saying. Like at first it was like, hey, this is real, and there's a lot of like uncovered, and there's like people on podcasts, and there's people who are like coming out and saying like, hey, I worked on this ship and blah blah blah. And then we're at this point as a society where we're like, that's not real, is it? And then all of a sudden there's so many people who are like, dude, that must be real. Let's charge this place. So it turned into like almost a joke, right? Mm-hmm. But then it kind of trickled out. And now we're not really talking about it. Kind of like just like the Jeffrey Epstein thing. Yeah. Just like,
well, and it's crazy because those people are literally told they would be shot down if they came anywhere near it. So it's like, what are you hiding?
Right.
What are they hiding?
But that's the thing, is like, is us knowing as just like whatever civilians with our level of intelligence, like, is that really more important than like they might be actually doing us a favor by not showing us this crazy shit, right?
Right. Maybe
we're slowly working up to where our brains could even fucking understand it. Like, if you show us a 4K TV back in 1964, you'd be like, what the fuck? What the fuck, bro?
Facts. They know we're not ready for that.
Yeah.
Whatever's down there.
Damn.
They know we ain't ready to see it.
It's probably just lizard people, bro. There's lizard people running the government. There's a lot of conspiracy theories that like, it's funny nowadays, there's more, things that would have been conspiracy or labeled conspiracy even 10 years ago are now like, there's like thousands and thousands of people like actually having conversations about them. I think it's conspiracy. The name was like, apparently even after JFK was killed, like that whole fishy scenario, they basically like anybody who was saying that it was, or trying to point it out or trying to uncover whatever, the government or the FBI or whatever, I don't know exactly what I'm talking about, but they said they're the ones who they actually inserted the word conspiracy theory. Like they started bringing that to the public, and that is kind of a way to like, anybody who tries to whistleblow or tries to call us out, we just call them a crazy ass. Yep. They're conspiracy theorists.
You're
they're crazy.
Nuts.
and there's a lot of people, like even conspiracy theories now, who like, there's like, wait, I don't even know if I want to say his name because they're like taking down his YouTube shit. There's I will, David Icke. I don't follow him, but he's one of the guys who's saying that like coronavirus is caused by 5G. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know fucking about that. That just seems like way too much madness. But like he's been saying like his whole life has been writing books about like this shit. Like his whole life he's been an author of like being mm-hmm. the conspiracy theorist guy. And it's so easy to write him off and call him a crazy ass, but if you look at some of the things that he says, like mixed in throughout that, it's like it has predicted and it has been true and it has like whatever. It kind of makes you think, mm-hmm. who's the one who's choosing to write them off as a conspiracy theorist.
Right.
We just anticipate the government or whatever being truthful to us, but
mm-hmm.
it's fucking wild.
It's wild. Life is wild.
Life is wild. I think life is about to get way more wild too for our fucking civilization,
I
bro.
would not doubt it, dude.
Well, I mean, I think we're gonna get to Mars for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of just wondering if we're, because our technology is getting good enough to where like just dudes with enough money are gonna start building more ships, and they're able to we're gonna start getting to places where who owns space, and whoever gets to the, let's say, dark side of the moon first, they're able to mine it, and they're able to take those elements and like all the shit that we don't know that's on the dark side of the moon. Like maybe there's an element there that's like would be great for fuel, and we just haven't figured out how to use it yet.
Mm-hmm.
But like whoever has the most money on the world right now is the one who gets to do it.
It's gonna start a world war.
Yeah, and the wealth gap is gonna be real big. What if there's gonna be, maybe we're gonna have like an Elysium sort of situation. You ever seen that movie? It's like a city in the sky.
Yeah. I think I've saw TV shows like that. I don't know if that particular one.
It was like Matt Damon or something.
I saw the 100.
Dude, that's a tight show. I actually like that.
It's a dope show.
That makes me think though. Did you watch like all seasons of it?
Yeah. I didn't like the last season.
I don't know.
It
if
got
I
a little weird.
I don't know if I watched the last season, but I did watch like when they got to where there's like the mountain people.
Mm-hmm.
That did make me think of like, because there's been also like conspiracies or myths or whatever of like there's a civilization towards the core of Earth or something, and that's some woo woo shit. I'm not saying I believe in it, but it does make you think like, I don't know, man. What if like, we just think our way of living and our way of civilization is like the only way, and we think of like, Egyptians and all like all these old civilizations as like just cranks. Like they're the conspiracy theories, they're the weirdos, but like they could be smarter than us in a lot of ways. They could know levels of technology that we never explored because we just assumed that the whole area was just, man, that's a weirdo, we're not even gonna follow down. It's interesting to think.
It is.
Yeah.
True.
How we feeling? How you doing on time?
I'm good. Only 123.
Ain't bad.
Yeah.
All right, bro. What's your plan for summer? Life's changing for you. What's your projections right now? Like, what's summer and afterwards? Like, where's your head at? What are you thinking?
I don't know. I just made a big life decision, and I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
I don't think people should be afraid of change. I feel like change can be a good thing.
Yeah.
And a positive thing. So that's where I'm at, man. Just gonna ride it out, see what happens, and enjoy it.
You're so easygoing, man.
You gotta be.
You are.
You gotta be.
Do you equate it to your mom? Like, I know you and your mom have a good relationship.
Yeah.
Is she like that too? Like, I
No.
mean, no.
Nah. She'd be the first to tell you. Nah, not at all. I don't know why I'm so chill, man. I really don't. I think, I don't know. I feel like part of me feels like I was forced to just be a chill dude, just given my environment growing up. But part of me just doesn't know. Like I've just always been super chill.
Yeah, laid back.
And a lot of people take it as that I don't care. But I'm really just chilling.
Yeah.
Like sincerely chilling.
Yeah, I'm 100% fine.
Yeah, like I don't know how to explain it. It's just, and that's what I was saying earlier. Like I feel like I'm so misunderstood. I always have felt that way. I don't know how to say it though.
Do you think out like race not being involved at all? Like, do you feel like you just felt? Because me, like, I feel like the way that I perceived the world was different. Like the way that, like, I would have different conversations than other people were having, or I would point out things that like other people weren't talking about or something. And like a lot of like, for me, I felt different because I could tell after a while that like I perceived the world differently than a lot of people. I'm sure everybody feels that way in certain senses, right? But I don't know.
For me, where was I going with that?
Talking about how we perceive the world, just thinking differently, being chill. I was asking about your mom's influence.
Oh, for me, I feel like I was so misunderstood because my whole childhood I was like a freak athlete growing up, and I hated it. I hated it so much because everyone assumed I was cocky and arrogant because that comes with being good at what you're doing, and that was so not me.
Mm-hmm.
I hated the spotlight. I hated it because I knew people would assume I was cocky
Yeah.
and was arrogant, and that just like when I was 12, I used to hit home runs and like get pissed right after. Like I was rounding the bases and I wouldn't smile. I'd go in the dugout, I wouldn't smile. My teammates would get pissed because I'm not smiling, and it was like I wasn't putting on an act. Like I was like I didn't want it.
Right.
Like obviously I'm gonna do my best, but every time I did, I was just like pissed off because I was like, well, people are gonna assume I'm cocky again. And so many people thought that way of me, like all the way through high school. And
I
that
never
just
thought you were cocky, but I knew you.
yeah, well, a lot of people did, and it was unfortunate because it wasn't me. Like people saw, like I feel like a lot of people only saw me in that light. Like I was the athlete, I was always smiling, had friends.
Right.
Like they didn't see the dark side. They didn't see the side of me that grew up with a single mom. A lot of times didn't have power.
Yeah. Felt alone in a lot of ways.
Raised my sister for the most part. You know, single mom. She works a lot.
Right.
I was held at gunpoint at 10 years old
Oh,
with a
wow.
shotgun.
Are you going to talk about that? Or is that?
Yeah, I mean, it was one of my mom's exes, and he broke into the house one night.
Damn, man.
Held my sister and my mom at gunpoint in her room.
That's crazy.
So till this day I don't know how, but I was sleeping on the couch in the living room, and he jumped through the window right next to it, and I slept through it all. And somehow they got out of the room because he probably like froze up. He was like probably like rethinking his strat.
Senses come too.
Yeah, so they got out, and then I wake up to this dude, 6'4", wake up to him. I'm 10 years old. I wake up to him standing like right in front of me on the other side of the couch. And he goes, "Don't worry, I'm not here for you." He was going for my mom and sister.
Do you see the gun? You saw like?
Yeah, he was holding it.
Dude.
12 gauge.
God damn.
And then, so he gets arrested. And, well, because he ran. So before he ran, he said, "I'll be back for you guys."
Oh, that's fucked.
And so he gets arrested, right? And does 7 years. So 7 years go by. I'm 17. I'm a junior in high school. He gets out. He comes back to town. My mom and sister flee to Tacoma for 2 weeks. I stayed at my best friend's house for 2 weeks.
Right.
Didn't go to school. And he got arrested because he came back to town.
God damn.
Went back to prison. So it's like I was dealing with all that, but no one knew because I didn't want anyone to know.
Right.
I wanted to be normal.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. And then
It's like something so big in your life that's like, you could probably use to talk about it and work through, but we feel like we don't have access to that at
Right.
that age.
And then when I was 15, I lost my grandfather, and he was my father figure.
Mm.
So I didn't have a dad growing up, and so that's really when life changed for me. Because I was such a prude, such an innocent, for the most part. Actually, I'll take that back. It's not true. I had my phase in middle school, but I really cleaned it up until like my sophomore year.
Yeah.
Because I got in high school and I wanted to start taking things serious. I was getting pretty good at sports. I didn't want to mess up college. But then once he passed away, like that father figure was gone. And then I started dabbling again, doing whatever. Didn't really care about much other than just playing sports. My academics dropped, all that. But it ended up working out. I'm here.
Oh yeah.
And then I got to college at Central. Had no money. So I got to Central late. Like I enrolled late, and there's so few jobs over there. Like if you're not there in the summer, like you're not getting a job.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so I go there because like it was my last year. I wasn't gonna go back. I was like, screw it, I'm gonna start working. Like I can't do this another year. I hated the weather there, couldn't stand it. But I decided to go back and finish. And I went late, so a job was out of the picture. So I had no money. So instead of getting an apartment that I couldn't afford,
You sleep in your car?
I would commute. Every Monday morning, I would leave from Kelso, drive to Ellensburg, sleep in my car Monday night, Tuesday night, drive back home Wednesday afternoon after class,
Yeah, man.
skip Thursday and Friday class.
And you made it through that like that?
Yeah,
You just kept doing that?
it was a bitch.
Do you feel like that's like you think it's that same thing? Like we're talking about, like you wait, you say, oh, I got a ride coming, and you wait till they leave and then you start walking, that same thing? Like is it?
Oh,
is it more of
100%.
that?
Oh,
Like you just-
1000%. Because no one even knew what I was doing. Because I had people I could have stayed with, but I didn't want to be that person sleeping on the couch.
Yeah.
I had done that before. I didn't want to be a burden.
Dude, why do we do that to ourselves? Because
I
like
don't
your
know.
homies would be happy to have. I mean, but I get it though. Like I've been like, family growing up, and families are like, you're not spending Christmas alone. You're going to our house,
Yeah.
and it's like, once they finally convince you to, or they whatever, like you're at their house, and it is great. But there's also like like it's uncomfortable. It's hard to.
Yeah. No, but I am thankful though, because two of my friends, Allison Dillay and Danny Eggleston, they knew what was going on after a while, and they took me in a few nights here and there, but
Right.
I refused to stay there every night. I was like, I'm not gonna live on your couch rent free. Like,
Right.
I'll accept it like a couple times a week, but I'm just gonna sleep in my car and do my thing.
I mean, that's, it's sad on one level, like just, inevitably like, oh, it just bums me out to think about you sleeping in your car, really. But it's also like, I feel like you probably derive a lot of strength from that sort of thing, like being able to, like,
100%.
and you could fall back on yourself for sure. Like, it's like, I got me. I know I'm going to be okay.
After the first 2 weeks, like the second week I was there, I went to sleep and woke up with like 5-6 inches of snow covering my car.
Cold?
It was cold, but after that, it was more of a pride thing. It was like, I'm gonna prove to myself that I'll really fucking drive here. I'll commute here every week, sleep in my car, sit in the rec center from 6 in the morning till 11 p.m. till it closes, and go back to my car, watch a movie on my laptop, and go to bed and do my shit. It was more of a just, I'm gonna do this for me. I'm gonna prove to myself that life's not that hard.
Right.
Like, this sounds terrible, but like I'm under, at the end of the day, I have cover over my head. Like
Right.
like I'm in a car.
Yeah, dude, you made
Like I could be on the street without cover. So
True.
why would I bitch about this when someone doesn't have a car to sleep in? And that's just the kind of mindset I had to get through it.
And then you're able to, teach kids and those same kids who are going through, younger but similar
Right.
situations at home, who like they don't want to talk to their friends about it.
Right.
Like they don't want everybody to know.
Yeah. That
And you can connect with them.
that's like my biggest thing in life. Like, just knowing, no matter how hard shit gets, like, it always works out. And it's the weirdest thing. Like, we always get put in these situations, like, how do I recover from this? Like, how am I gonna get over this? And you always do.
Yeah. Like look at your life right now. Like however old you are right now,
Yeah.
listening.
Think
you figured it out every time.
Yeah, but like, think back in your life at how many times you're like, how am I gonna do this? Like, think about how many times in your life, like, you literally thought you could not do something, or you could not make it through something,
Mhm.
but you do every time. It's just those hours or those days in between where, like, for whatever reason, like, you have no hope. But it always works out.
Right.
And we don't know how or why, but it does. So it's funny to, like, think about how much pressure we put on ourselves thinking that it's not going to get done.
Right.
But we know it's going to get done.
Like, we're always going to figure it out.
Yeah. Like, every paper I wrote in college, I was like, how the fuck am I going to do this? Like, I'm a procrastinator. I knew I was going to wait till 3 hours before it was due and write a 5 to 10 page paper. I did that like almost every paper I wrote. Because if I knew I had 10 hours, to me, that meant I have another 7 hours before I have to start it.
Yeah.
Because then I'll have 3 hours to do it.
That's how a ton of people work like that, actually.
It's nuts. Like, you have to have some kind of pressure on you to get it done.
Uh-huh.
Like, if I have 2 days to do it, why would I do it when I have 2 days?
I mean, maybe you just knew yourself, like, in another level. I mean, like, what if you had an apartment this whole time? Like, maybe you wouldn't be as driven, you know, to go to class. Like, maybe you would, but maybe you kind of just, like, recognized who you are and, you know, like, I need this to get this done. I'm going to do it this way.
Right. I think I don't know, man. I really don't.
There's nothing, like, there's nothing in your life that you're like, man, this is like a defining moment where I was like, I'm going to be chill. I'm going to look at it optimistically. Like, this person taught me that. It's just how you are.
I think
Life circumstance.
it was just a buildup of everything I went through in my childhood.
Yeah.
Like, not only did I see my family at gunpoint, like, I witnessed my grandfather get shot up too. Not killed, but like, he was in the house and he was getting shot up. And I was like 8.
Damn, man.
So that shit was...
Do you remember, like, understanding it back then at all?
Yeah,
Or was it, like,
yeah.
later?
It's crazy. And I don't know why, but the craziest thing, like, my grandma still has the same blinds. Like, there's still holes in them.
Whoa, that's weird.
But they're like 22 holes, so that they're like not like crazy noticeable.
But how many times have you, like, looked at those or zoned
Every
out,
time I'm
seeing
there.
them or corner your
Every
eye?
time I'm there.
That's wild. You think it's a like a bad thing? Like, do you think, like, you'd be
No,
better off if they were replaced, or is it like...
I don't even know if she, like, notices.
Right.
I think she just, like, she's so far removed from that
Right.
that she doesn't even, like, think about it. Or maybe she does it on purpose and she just wants that reminder.
Yeah.
Like, that's that's her way of, like, having a part of him there, because they got through it together.
Did you, when you were younger, did you feel... For me, when I was younger, I felt like I understood the adults more than I understood the people around me, but also there was a sense of, I couldn't understand why they're lying to me about certain things. Like, so for example, like, I don't really remember the situation at all. I was way young. I was under 10 years old, but my grandma passed away at our house. And I remember what they were doing is they essentially, like, you know, family starts coming over and you know, I'm sure, like, the police were there or whatever afterwards. But I remember, like, being upstairs and there was, like, one of my cousins or something that was trying to, like, distract me and not get me to go downstairs and trying to just, like, essentially, I knew exactly what was going on. I'm like, Grandma died. It's going on downstairs. I can hear the adults crying.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you lying to me and trying to distract me? Like, I didn't like that I was, like, being treated like a kid, although I was a kid.
Right.
But to me, like, and it's a good example of, like, how I thought as a kid. Like, I felt like I understood what was always going on.
Mm-hmm.
I just was always, the thing that I was confused about was why the adults around me were lying about it to try to make me feel better.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, they were doing great. Like, they're like, of course you shouldn't just, like, let your, you know, 7-year-old kid just hang out next to dead grandma and
Right.
like fill out the police report too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, geez. But I remember feeling like I felt, like, less trustful of the people around me because I'm like, why are you lying to me? Like,
Right.
it was a weird thing, like, where a lot of kids I think would be better off like just having that illusion, whatever. But I always saw through the illusion, and I just didn't like that I wasn't being told about it.
Right.
I don't know. Did you ever feel like you kind of knew what was going on?
I always knew what was going on.
Yeah. I mean, of course you did. Like dealing with that shit at such a young age.
I always understood adults more than my peers. And I think it's because I had to grow up so fast at a young age.
Yeah.
Like I just always understood adults. Like their mindset was my mindset.
Right.
Like I had an adult mindset rather than kids my age.
See,
And that's like all the way up until high school. Like I always hung out with kids older than me.
mm-hmm. Do you think that like your homies who were like around the similar age as you, like, do you think they were probably, drawn to you in those ways because of that? Like you understand people generally in such a, like, a lot of times when we're young, we're just focused on ourselves. Like we're just young,
Mm-hmm.
but when you can see the people around you, like that everybody has needs and that everybody has like an individual perception of these things, you can like be more comfortable with the people around. It's like who wouldn't want to have someone who is like reasonable and understands the situation and cares for everybody on an individual level? Like who would want to have that person around?
Right.
So it probably like drew you into relationships too, I'm sure.
For me, and I think this is why I ultimately ended up becoming a counselor. Like growing up, I was always everyone's outlet because I could always identify everyone's pain. Like I always saw through the bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Like I always saw through the facade, and I would always check in. Like I would say, like, I know you're struggling, like what's up? Like I know you're acting like you're not, but I put on that same facade.
Yeah.
I know a bullshitter when I say a bullshitter.
That's how
like,
I am.
Like how you doing for real?
Yeah.
And I was always like that, even as a kid.
Yeah. That's a valuable place to be. That's a valuable friend to have around for sure. Do you see that in your counseling job? Do you see that in kids? Like, do you see like, oh, this is the counselor. This 15-year-old kid, is it, or is it different?
It's different. It's funny because I'll see kids and I'll see younger versions of people in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny. Yeah,
that's gotta be a trip.
Like, not saying this happened, but I'll see a kid and I'll be like, damn, that's Jake. That's 14-year-old Jake right there.
Yeah. He's just wearing the tightest pants you ever seen. His hair is pink. He's got eyeliner on.
Yeah. Black nail polish.
Yeah.
Wearing some etnies.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Whatever lasts through the skateboarding.
Yeah. It's so funny how many like phases I've went through. We all went through.
Oh man,
growing up,
especially me.
Yeah,
I mean,
because even I went through the etnies and skater phase. It's like it's so many different. It's hilarious.
For me, I feel like my phases were. I mean, even when I was like way younger, I really always liked like bright colors. I think that I was drawn to like being the rebel. Like I didn't so much as want to be. How do I phrase it? I wasn't trying to be different. Like I was already inherently different. But I really felt like I just generally did like, I just happened to like the more like exuberant shit. Like I always liked, like I would see, so skateboarder, I would see my favorite skateboarder wearing something that was like, whoa, he's wearing like a button-up leopard print shirt and he's just shredding. That is savage.
Yeah.
And so I would be like, I don't know, because I never had anybody in my life to like say no, or like you're not supposed to do that, or like that's a ridiculous shirt. I don't know. So I would just be like, of course I want
that freedom.
I'm getting that. Yeah. So it's so interesting to see how we change over the years, man. Like we do and we don't change, and it's a thing of beauty to realize that the human being is such a dance, man. We're not going to get there. We're not going to get to a final form.
No.
We're who we are throughout all these things, and we we change and we learn, and when we get more information and we get better, and sometimes we get worse.
Yeah.
That's a fucking thing of beauty, life, isn't
Chameleons, man.
Chameleons. Millionaire. Yeah, I think that for me, because I was kind of the counselor too, I was having, after my podcast with, I think it was Taya Sanders, and then same with Mac T, we were talking about, they brought up like how natural this situation is, like the podcast, and like just me, you know, trying to help people with mental health and you know, whatever dorky way I can. Like they would be like, oh, of course you're doing this. And I'm like, what? I didn't plan on doing this. I'm not trying to like do this. And just what I feel that I should be doing right now. And they would talk about, like, they'd bring up, like, me and Mac T back in high school, dude, we would just write notes together. I loved writing. Like, so we would just write, like, the longest notes, just pages and pages, go back and forth, and we'd talk about, like, real shit. Yeah. Be like counselor to her. And then same with Taya way back in the day. Like, she was a couple years younger than us. And so she would come up to me for advice, like, talk to me for advice. And all those long text talks. And look back, like, oh, yeah, I guess, you know, as far as if you had to choose who was the one counselor for the friend group, I guess I kind of was that. Like, but it's in that same way, it's an ability, like, because you can be that chameleon, and that's what you want, and you could be, you know, like what people need. Like, you can show up as the version of yourself, like they already like you, but the version of yourself that's like can really get to that part of them and really allow them to like work shit out with you.
Right.
It's for me, I think that I like with my depression and my, like, you know, in my beginning of my 20s and stuff, I feel like I was always so much of that I would like, I don't know that I like really, it's hard to say the words, I didn't know who I was, but I don't know. I just feel like now at this age, I'm making more of my own decisions. Like I have more like barriers almost of like, control. Oh no, I'm this, like I'm willing to reshape myself, and I'll form to what needs to happen in the situation. Like I'll be this version of myself. Like I don't have, you know, my pride isn't worth getting in the way of like us having this real talk. Like I'll get to the level that we need to be on. But now more than ever, as I like learn more about like my mind and emotions and study all this stuff,
you're more proud and understanding of where you are in life.
Right.
And I've noticed that. Like over the last year, like you've made strides. I'm proud of you for that.
Yeah, thanks, bro. Appreciate that.
You can just tell that you're in a good place.
I am.
And you can tell that you're finally comfortable and you're happy with where you are.
Right.
You can see it.
I'm really trying to be, you know?
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out my own path, you know? I'm trying to like learn as much as I can and just do what feels right. I mean, like I was talking about with Dev 2 days ago, like what if nobody ever believed in themselves? Like what if Martin Luther King just, I don't know, bro, I'm kind of a turd. I don't want to go up there. Like, or what if Elon Musk is like, no, bro, I can't fucking make shit. Like any artist, any musician, like what if they never believed in themselves? And I started to realize that I was like not believing in myself. Like I don't even know what I believe in myself in, but I know that like whatever I do, I got to do it because I'm the only one who could do it.
Right.
Like my particular story, just like everybody on this world, like 8 billion people, we've all got our own story.
Everyone's got something.
Yeah, you know, we've all got our shit, and we can only step into it. And for me, like people pleasing has been a big thing that I've like trying to dissolve, like because as a chameleon personality, it's also like trying to make sure the vibe is always perfect. Like it's as much as when there's 8 people talking, I notice when there's someone trying to tell a story and they kind of got overrun and then the story kept going. I'm looking right at them and I'm waiting for the next chance so I can be like, anyway, Amy, what were you saying? I'm always doing the same
way.
Yeah, bro. And it's a beautiful thing, and I think it's a very important role for any friend to have, and I love it, and I wouldn't change it. But I realize how often I was always in that role. I'm always like, who needs what in this room? Because I'm gonna mold to that. And after a while,
because like, no one else is bringing it.
Right. And it's important, and it is your identity in a sense. But for me, it's more of like, even as I get this podcast and I start to like do my own research and learn my own things, like sometimes I want to be able to like stand up for myself, and I want to be able to be like, some things like, I don't know what I believe, but there are some things where I'm like, I think you're wrong. I think that I do believe that. And I don't think that me, without like practicing this and like talking to people and trying to stand up for myself, like I also see it as like, if I continue to do this and I continue to learn and feed my brain and I continue to like adapt and evolve just as a human and really try to self-actualize and be the best version of myself that I can in whatever way that I can, I'm going to come up with people who don't like that, who don't like my ideas. And that's really uncomfortable for me. I don't like when people don't like me. It makes me super nervous. I get uncomfortable. I start changing myself so they like me, because that's just how I've survived. It's how I adapted and learned the world around me. Yeah. It's like, it's such a beautiful thing, but if you ain't noticing it, if you ain't like checking yourself in a sense. So I guess over the last, year, 2 years, whatever, like I'm just learning more, and I'm able to put up more barriers and boundaries of like, I'm with you and I'm willing to like dissolve myself and be ditto in whatever situation I need to. But there is some things that I have, like values for sure is something that I have now that I don't think that I had before. Just things that I like don't want to sway on, things that I'm willing to argue for and like willing to tell people that they're wrong. Like that wasn't something that I would never do before, because I just would avoid conflict in every way that I can. So
I think if you're honest and sincere about what you're doing, it's easy to not care about someone's opinion.
Right.
Like if they ain't riding with you, whatever. Like you're being yourself. Like can't beat yourself up about that. But if you're not being honest and you're not being sincere about something you're doing, then it's fair game for someone to judge you.
Right. And it comes across, I feel like it's like, the feeling that we inevitably get. Like people have been so kind to me through like, just the podcast stuff. People are like willing to open up to me and blah, blah. And I'm sitting at the other end of the table like, hey man, I'm not trying to be anything. I'm not trying to say that I'm this. I'm not trying to say that I'm good at this. I'm just trying to like show up at the level that I'm actually at, and I, talk about the level that you're actually at. And I think it's, we can't ask for much more than that, man. Like none of us fucking, I don't remember asking to be born. Do you? Like, I'm just trying to figure this life shit out.
I got dropped off, man.
I got dropped off. The storks, man. They just, the aliens.
Yeah.
They came down. They beamed me down for sure.
Like Dumbo.
Yeah, right. We're always just trying to figure it out, man. And I think that when you could just tell people, like the race conversation, like it's like, as far as a podcast goes, like that's not like the greatest content, like just hearing some like white dude fumble around some like weird questions. But I'm not trying to say that I'm a pro about this. I just want to make sure that it's, addressed, because it's something that I feel is important, in our society right now. And I want to make sure there's no like, just you as like an individual, like I'm looking out for you. So I'm willing to stumble through the that's like self-righteous. Like I did this for you, bro. Yeah, sorry. But no, I think I think a lot of people would be surprised at how willing other people are to let you just stumble through where you're at. Right.
Yeah.
Like I like playing sports or making art or singing. Like people want to see you, like your friends just want to see you try, even if you're not the best singer. They just want to see you like, I really love playing football, and I just, I know I'm not the best, but blah, blah. Like your friends are like, okay, I never thought of you to be the best. I never wanted you to be the best. Like you're happy. That's great.
For the most part, people just want to see you succeed. They want to see you happy. The genuine people. Yeah. There's only a select few that wish on your downfall.
Right.
I feel like the ratio's so much more positive than people think.
Right.
There's more people trying to uplift you than drag you down.
And that's so true. But we have this thing, I feel like especially with social media has definitely amped it, but we have this thing where like one wrong comment is just like, we just ignore every good comment. Like, bro, like I'll get 100 people saying like, thanks for what you're doing, I appreciate it, blah, blah. And then one person's like, dude, you're a turd, you suck. What are you talking about? Like, and I'm like, Dev, I'm losing sleep,
your
bro.
shoes
like,
are untied, bro.
Your shoes are untied. You unprofessional piece of shit.
Hey, fuck.
It's and we catch on to those things. I mean, but more and more, the more I start to say, my counselor told me this thing. I had been going on and on about this. I was just rambling, and she just goes, like in a soft way. She just looks right at me. She's like, huh. And what's that tempting you to believe? She said that to me, and I remember like I literally laughed afterwards. I was like, oh fuck, I thought that I was pointing it out, but like you're right, you know, like and that's the same thing as like what people have to say about you, especially if they're wishing on your downfall, you know, it ain't true. Like it's like you could be like, okay, like you could think that. Like you could try to say that I'm that, but you know, like I'm just a human.
That just goes back to the power piece. Like,
yeah, you give things power.
don't give that comment power,
Right.
and it won't bother you.
Right.
At the end of the day, they're letters on a cell phone.
God damn.
Don't give it power.
Right.
Won't bug you. Give power to the positive.
Mm-hmm. And there's so much more positive, especially like when you're like this, you know, like the support that I get. Like people are just so pumped about it. And
yeah.
Like I just feel like grateful. Like sometimes I'm like, don't amp me up. Like I have this like I guess almost like the spotlight thing. Like I'm not trying to hit home runs here.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to like like I guess that's what we're all shooting for in a sense. Like you should be shooting to get around the bases for sure.
Yeah.
But like yeah, praise and judgment are strange things. We're such societal creatures. We need it or we don't need it.
For sure.
It's madness. Well, bro, you want to get off here and have another beer?
Yeah, I'm cool.
Anything else you need to talk about?
Nah, man, it's a good time.
It was definitely a good time. I feel like we say this all the time, but now that we're actually hanging out, it's like the coronavirus of a couple months of like nobody's seeing each other. Now that unless we get a second wave, who knows? But I can knock on wood. But it'd be great to have you up here, man. I think you're an intellectual person. I love your demeanor. Obviously, I love having you around just as a homie.
Yeah.
But I like being able to talk to you about things because like
for sure.
I feel like you have just a level-headed view of so many things.
Appreciate that.
I appreciate you coming on here.
Yeah.
And I love you, man.
Love you too, dog.
Folks, if you enjoyed the episode, please share. Just follow, like, subscribe, any of those things. Whatever's relevant to you, whatever's just a quick click away is not too much of an inconvenience. And if you think it'll help somebody else, just share it if you think it'll help somebody else. I appreciate you. We'll see you next episode.